Why do we have to go to war? It's simple. It's because it is. It starts out because it is. Then it eventually turns into, bless my mother, man. Like, I done lost so much gold. I'm a lucky person. Then it eventually turns into this Native American gold coin. But that's what it's all about. There's nothing essentially backing the fiat note since 1934. However, this is what they're not going to tell you. There's still old Native American, even going into European and Japanese Americans that still own the original gold that this country was written on or contracted on, essentially is what it was. This country was contracted on a certain amount of gold, and we lost it from printing too much fiat, which is loans, essentially. People driving around with all this money. I used to be one of them, thinking that we're rich. And I'm not saying go give it out. I didn't say that. But you're not rich yet. You just got a loan. Now you got to flip it. But they didn't tell me that when I was young. I thought that was the end all be all. You got a certain amount of cash. Hide it somewhere, stash it, maybe start a bank account with some of it, and it's yours. And that's what I thought. But then I got into studying military economics and found out some deeper shit. But I'm not really here to talk about that. But I just want to pretty much point out this war that may break out and how serious it is, and how they play both sides, essentially, because the problem is this: we don't have to necessarily go to war, but when there's a lack of economic understanding and ignorance and a sense of entitlement, which is going on now in this country and in all countries, because everybody's now like, okay, well, I got land. I don't want to do nothing. I don't have to work. My parents owned this land. I found it. Boom, I'm done. But then now you have gotten into messing around with somebody else's money, though. Even if it's yours and it was your parents, all land is a part of a chest, a war chest, a community chest. And you say you own this land, so now you're in a boat with millionaires and billionaires, right? And you don't pay the taxes or, do certain stuff on your land, these millionaires and these billionaires are going to start to tax you over time. And eventually you're going to get notes on your head. And you can end up sending your whole family estate, your social security, all that stuff into debt for messing around with land. But a lot of this can be avoided. And this is what I do. I've been helping people do this for the past 8 years now. I was unconscious when I first started doing it, but the ancestors blessed me with just a gift. And I've been just doing it and it's working. And it's taxing, but essentially you give someone your money that doesn't have an identification necessarily in the matrix, and that's totally independent. It cuts down on the loss that you're going to experience. So it's kind of like a hedge fund. This is why they exist. You give the person that runs the hedge fund your money, it doesn't make that person rich. Again, that's just loans. And that person has to prove over time how this money is turning over, what's going on with this money. So I did a big loan for my soul group. Of course, I started my own religion. I don't want people to feel like I just left them behind. So it's just kind of a quick update on what's been going on with it. And with the, like the little monies that we were given from the bus trips. You guys see me last year I was all over the place. I was sponsored and giving money, and it turned over pretty good. Honestly, I'm explaining to you what I do. Like, since I'm kind of like into sports, I can bet land. Other people's land, my land is already in there in the hedge fund. From essentially people giving me money, they can be silent, they don't have to say anything, or they can be vocal and we can sit down and discuss it. It doesn't really matter, but I can bet. If you just give me something, I can bet it, period, whether you like it or not. And you could benefit from it whether you know it or not. It'll just sit in what's called the scores, which is a chess. These teams represent land lotteries. You see, so When I first came here, my parents contracted me to come to the oldest team. So people don't know this about me. I'm going into some of my history, but when I first came to this country, my parents sent me here to where the oldest baseball team is. And this is how I learned a lot about sports from this, because they know most of the history here. Very old slash sovereign community that's trying to become sovereign, but kind of some, technical difficulties. But they know a lot about sports and how these land lotteries work. So from there, I began to study this stuff, over years, of course, from studying economics. But the bottom line is that I found out that each team represents land. It represents the real, true community. So you got the states. This is what I'm breaking down. And a lot of sovereigns, they went into it from the perspective of states. It's statement of acceptance for value. They started on a state level because they wanted to essentially break away from the states, but they didn't realize that each team, see, it goes back to sports, actually. This country was founded on sports. The states came later. And each team represents land, and it was originally divided up, predicated upon these teams. And of course, the sports change and the team names change, and some states have more than one team. I understand all that. That's technical. You have to sit down with me and we can get into the nitty gritty, like how much money they really making, and you know what I'm saying, go into that with some people that's really got real money, because we talking millions, sometimes even more than that. But yeah, each team represents a chest, so they got money already backed up from wins and losses from the past, right? So when I came into it, I'm bringing this up for a reason. I came into it at a certain point, which was last year in June, and I visaed a certain amount of ones to make my way in my group, to make a way for us. And I visaed, according to my records, it came out perfect yesterday. I counted. I did a payment count, actually. It's very technical. And I visaed 78 ones altogether. And the collection of sports is actually 3 of them. 3 different sports. 78 ones. You're like, what does that mean? So what are you talking about? Like, it's a lot of money for us. And it's going to take me several videos to even help you to get to understand what I'm even talking about. So this is just still a part of that introduction, really, honestly. I know it's kind of long, but it's a lot to talk about. And I'm having phone trouble, company trouble, because when I get with companies and I start visaing phones, we made so much money to her. I visa a couple $1 million. It's all through the phone network, trading with everybody that has that same provider. So now I got investments, or we have investments in phone companies. All started from a trip: sports, electrical companies, water companies, a lot of stuff going on. So I'm not going to get into the details, but I'm trying to explain to you how we're raising money and essentially receiving it back now, because we're about to go into the receiving part, which is very important. But we raised a lot of money through 78 ones that I visaed. 78 of them. And I'm not going to say how much it's worth, but some people say when a one drops, for some people, it could be worth up to $78 million to some people. Some people may, you know what I'm saying, they say it's 0 to 1. So if you're a millionaire in it, it's levels. It may be worth 78 million to you if you plan for millions. If you was a person that came in playing for hundreds, it may only be worth 78,000. You know what I'm saying, to you. Or 780,000. It depends on the level in which you came in. I'm going to have to explain that in future videos, and how you can understand how your money and what you even got in it. Because when you see a score, the computer is so intelligent, and the way the points are generated so intelligent. I know you're like, well, this is supposed to be competition. It's not regular. Yes, it is. It's fractioned out on how many points they're going to get. They don't know who's going to win, but they tell them, like, okay, we need 3 more points. 3 more points, 3 more points. They order these points. These athletes are so good at what they do that they don't really need like a lot of like assistance on making shots and losing and when you think, well, he missed it, that was luck. It's never luck with them. They're very excellent at what they do. So they just order the points and they're like, okay, get us 4 points real quick. They go get it. That's how sports actually works, believe it or not. But it's still competitive because, again, the investors have to buy. You don't know who's going to invest and how much points is going to be generated. You never know that. So you can lose money, yes. But we made a profit. That's what I'm here to talk about. I'm happy. We visaed 78 ones. I'm not going to say how much it's worth to me. No, I wasn't playing for millions, so no, it's not worth 778 million. But it's worth a lot. Definitely worth a lot. And I'm going to go into more of it in the future because it's some payments and principles and money, miscellaneous money that's kind of out there to where it's still not really, until the end of this year, the World Series, I'm going to say this, it's still not really decided on how much my group made yet. But I'll let you know at the end of this year. So, and then from there, we'll start to get a little bit more community again and start to talk to people and see how everyone's doing. Some people may not be a part of this anymore. Their children stayed doing it. They quit. It got rough, man. It got rough. And their kids kept trading. Some people banned people from watching my videos. They're like, he's crazy. This is sick. Because we did, I'm not going to lie, we did occult rituals to get to where we're at. Because this is how the world of economics works. So I'm going to help you to understand what these teams, a lot of these teams, who they were. I mean, I'm not going to go into all of them. I use memory to do all of my accounting because of reasons of shapeshifters. And for reasons, this is how I was taught. So a lot of it is from memory, and I do this for a reason. Because when you write stuff down, it creates a contract with the other side, the other world. I know you're like, how you going to run a group with no paperwork? We're going to eventually use a computer, believe it or not, to track things. And we use videos to keep paperwork because it's automatic. But we'll never write stuff down on that level unless I'm doing a private reading for you. Because of the contract of writing stuff down, when you write stuff down and use a pencil, it's a contract. So that's where we're at, man. It was an exciting year. We didn't lose. I know that. Didn't lose no money, made money. And it's kind of like sitting there in a chest, man. So, like I said, I'm the fall guy or the bottom guy. So I work with the bottom team. And right now I'm working with the Washington Nationals because for my records, they were the bottom team. So I'm working with them, and that's pretty much how I'm making my money. So for those people who's happy about what I'm doing and just want to shoot a donation, you can shoot it to my Strawman account, which is 13signsastrology@gmail.com via PayPal. And we're not expecting you to do that. But, of course, if you do it, it helps us to know who you are and eventually maybe one day work with new people. So this is how I meet people. But a lot of my investors are very miscellaneous and work with very high-level people that are worth a lot of money. I actually have you're not going to believe this, but a billionaire that's working with me, believe it or not. And they're very rough in how they work. They don't give you any money. So don't think, oh, you rich. Shit. These people, if anything, they're not going to give you anything. Believe it or not. So just kind of shooting out until you prove a certain level, with your trading skills. They're not stupid. They're worth billions of dollars. They just see my IQ and what I'm doing and believe in it and testing me out. But I passed that first test, going into some second level tests right now. It's the second year we're moving into to me. So I'm visa number 2 now. It's our second year of doing this on this level or whatever through various communities going all the way out west to out east, both sides of the country. So it's very intricate. It's creating this network that we built up through crystals and ley lines and stuff that you would think is stupid. Like, when I'm saying stuff like this, you're like, man, this is stupid. Got this from somebody, this comes from another planet. See what I'm saying? Like, this stuff you don't even believe. Not even, it's extraterrestrial, man. But it's worth money. We'll come back up with more. Stay vigilant.